Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce Dave Paunesku.
Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about what we can do to unfix our mindsets. So I have 4 recommendations for you today, and I'm going to discuss them each in turn. Recommendation number 1 is to learn the evidence. Learn the science behind a growth mindset. Well, until pretty recently, many in the neuroscience community believed that the human brain didn't change much past early childhood. Adults who had learned to read for the first time in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and in some cases even in their 50s. And the brains of these adults showed substantial physical changes as a result of learning to read. In other words, the brain adapts. When we challenge it, it adapts to meet that challenge. Learning to read, even at this very late age, caused the brain to reorganize itself in such a way as to facilitate reading. So these findings, and others like them, show pretty unambiguously that the brain continues to change. The practice and learning can continue to rewire the brain throughout life. They undercut the core of the notion that our abilities are limited by a static and unchanging brain. Time for recommendation number 2. And this recommendation is don't forget the growth and growth mindset. It's the belief that effort won't just help you accomplish a task, it's that it'll actually grow you, that it'll develop you and make you better. Put it another way, people who have a growth mindset don't just do hard things because they think they can. They do hard things because they understand that in doing hard things, they will actually improve themselves. So remember, the growth mindset isn't just about staying positive or about giving it your best shot. It's a scientifically grounded understanding of the fact that through practice, we can fundamentally improve ourselves and put ourselves on an upward trajectory. Time for recommendation number 3. Push yourself hard enough that you struggle, that you make mistakes, and that you have to ask people for help. And this is important because even if you have a growth mindset, if you're never actually pushing yourself, if you're never actually struggling to improve yourself and your abilities, you're not going to get better. As you shift from thinking about where you are right now and what that means about you to where you want to be and how to get there. As that happens, that state of learning, that state of challenge, which is initially uncomfortable, gets to become your new comfort zone. And that really is a great feeling. How do you create this kind of culture that nurtures challenge and a growth mindset, that really gets people out of their comfort zone and developing this new challenge-based comfort zone? Well, first, I might recommend giving challenging work, but saying explicitly that you expect mistakes, and the mistakes will help you and the person who makes them identify areas for improvement. It shows people that you're intentionally pushing them to help them develop, and that you're okay with them making mistakes. It puts them into an improvement mindset in which mistakes are far less threatening. Second, when someone does make a mistake, acknowledge it and focus the person immediately on the learning opportunity there. Try to say, oh, I made a mistake. What can I learn from it? What can I take away from this to help me improve? Okay, last but by no means least, monitor for fixed mindset thoughts. Learn to recognize the difference between growth mindset statements and ideas and fixed mindset statements and ideas. Now, sometimes it can be pretty obvious. Let me give you 2 examples. A statement like, you have no talent is a pretty obvious one, right? Or you're just not a math person, right? So both of these statements convey the idea that a person lacks some deep, internal, unchangeable quality. So in this study, they had 10-year-olds start by doing some moderately difficult IQ problems. So they started out with these moderately difficult IQ questions. These are some pretty unusual problems. Students aren't used to doing these, so they don't really know if they did well or if they didn't do well. So that gave them the luxury of being able to tell everyone that they actually did well. But they randomly assigned what kind of praise they gave them. So to some students, they gave them intelligence praise. Wow, that's a really good score. You must be smart at this. To others, they gave them effort praise. Wow, that's a really good score. You must have tried really hard. And finally, to the control group, they just said, wow, that's a really good score. Then all the students took this much more challenging series of IQ questions. After this test, they were all given negative feedback. They were told, well, that's a lot worse. And then they were asked to do another set of IQ problems, this time of equal difficulty as that first set of problems they did. So note that at the beginning and at the end, the questions were of the same difficulty. So students in the control group, those who were just told, wow, that's a really good score, Well, their scores didn't change much. Students who were praised for effort learned that effort is what's important, that effort is how you do well at these problems. But what happened to the students who were praised for their intelligence? Well, they did a lot worse. After their initial success, the intelligence praise led them to believe that their good performance was the result of something special about them. And I want to point out that this can be a really common problem with bright kids. They get accustomed to hearing how smart and talented and gifted they are, and how they're so special because they succeed in school. If before they were successful because they were special, then maybe they're not so special now that they're not successful. And it wasn't learning or effort before that made them successful, it was just their being special. I'd like to end by just summarizing about how to talk and think with a growth mindset. So remember not to focus on qualities that people commonly interpret as stable, like talent or intelligence, but instead to focus on effort and strategies, to focus on how you or others can improve, what you can do to make yourself better, and to focus on mistakes and challenges, not as bad things to be ashamed of, but as opportunities to grow oneself. Thank you.